Welcome to the Grandstand Golf Podcast. This is the weekend golf update for the Genesis Invitational. I'm your host, Adam Bapty, and as always, I'm joined by my brothers, Kevin.
What's up, everyone?
And Craig.
Hey, how we doing, guys?
All right, Craig, we had a pretty exciting week. Can you recap the Genesis for us?
Yeah, well, I'll get to the highlights, but first we got to mention Sam Burns. Started out 18-hole leader, 36-hole leader. The cut was brutal. We saw a lot of the biggest names didn't make it through the cut. Burns kept it going, 54-hole leader, 63-hole leader. Unfortunately, though, they play 72 holes, and that back nine on Sunday just kind of got to him. Door was open. Tony Finau, who, on Sunday morning, I did not expect him to be really in contention, but he came out, shot 64. Max Homa, he was someone who was going to be in contention likely. He was only two back of the lead to start the day. He shot a 66. Could have been a 65. He had about a 3-foot putt on the last hole, 18th green. Hit a great shot in there. Had a 3-foot putt to win. And unfortunately, he maybe a little bit of pull, maybe a little bit of a fan it. I don't know. We'll have to go to the tape on that one. Went to a playoff. The 10th hole was awesome. We'll get into that in detail. Yeah. They both tied there. And then the par 3 14th they went to. Homa hit a great shot onto the green. Finau hit it at the bunker. Failed to go up and down. Homa made his 2-putt for the win. Huge win. Hometown win for Max Homa. It does so many things for him. Gets him into the Masters. Gets him into the WGC next week. Gets him right back into the center of Kevin's heart.
He never left that.
All good things. So, Kev, I think you're our resident Max Homa fanatic. I think we all like the guy, but you're the one that really keeps him close to the heart. How was it for you today?
It was extremely stressful. My whole family gave me a little bit of a buffer, I think. They just let me putter in the kitchen watching my golf, and I was following them all day, right from the early wake up with the kids. Finished his, I believe, last 5 holes of his third round this morning. Did that in even par, and then came out and made birdies early. Went out and
for a while there, it looked like he might be in the final group. But just the way the ties worked out, he wasn't. He was in the second.
And honestly, group. I don't even know why, because him and DJ both finished in the same group with the same score, so I'm not sure how they worked that out.
DJ teed off that round first, and that's why. Okay. Of all weird things,
Yeah. Anyway, I liked the group. I texted you guys in the morning. Max was playing with Taylor Gooch, he's a good buddy of, in the penultimate group. So
nice.
I think that was a pretty cozy pairing for him. And it was a super exciting final round. He played pretty much flawlessly until that last free. Little, bogey free in all, I guess, 23 holes he played today. And I think bogey free over his last 26 holes of the tournament. Other than, missing that birdie putt on 18, which was only as close as it was because he had two brilliant shots to get to that spot.
Yeah.
A little nervy, but other than that, what can you say? He played great. With
that birdie putt it was much more talk of like making sure you made par, like going into the hole. It was more like, is he going to hold on to make par? And then until his second shot, and then it was like, oh my goodness, no, this is his to win now.
Yeah.
The second shot was unbelievable for sure.
Yeah.
Kevin, so he was in the playoffs with Fenow, who you mentioned a lot on the podcast. It is one of your boys. So was there any bit of you that's like, if Homa can't get this, like of all the people in the field, Finau's kind of my my 1B maybe. Like how are you resolving that inner conflict? Yeah.
Well, it really wasn't that big of a dilemma for me. I was pulling hard for Homa. Finau's gonna be fine. Finau, he comes second every week.
It's just another.
This is his third straight second.
Yeah. Well, Tony Finau's a top 15 player in the world, top 20, top 15. Max Homa, didn't even see what he moved up.
Yeah,
to.
he's up to 38th in the world with this.
Okay,
I think.
That's huge.
So it's an
But going into this, he would have been 70s, 80s, somewhere around there.
I believe he went from 91 to 38 with this.
Okay.
It's an elevated status event, so it comes with extra FedEx Cup points and extra world ranking points. And yeah, that's ultimately for me. Other than being a big fan of Homa, it also came down to the fact that this does so much more for Max than it does for Tony. Tony's already qualified for everything. With this win, as opposed to a second place for Max, it's a huge difference. So, and not only that, but if you're watching the coverage, they alluded to time and time again, but this is a hometown tournament for Max. It's one that's like super near and dear to his heart. Yeah. I think we all listened to his podcast with Shane Bacon. He had talked about it. I think they started doing their podcast shortly before this tournament last year. And so he talked about being in contention in this tournament last year and how much that meant to him and how, how much he felt the nerves and everything. And then in his post-round conference today, he talked about how important that was, that he has been in contention.
He got choked up too.
Yeah.
Talking about the city of champions, the Lakers and the Dodgers, and you can tell you're such a big sports fan because he's such a fan of those guys, and he's just like he and me, and like just choking that out, like he's like like I'm one of those guys people are fans of now.
Yeah, and like me being a major Tiger fanatic too, he grew up doing the same thing, and he alluded to how awesome it was. He says he's been trying to get a high five from Tiger at the at Riviera for a decade, and now he's handing him a trophy. So yeah, it's all cool. It's just, I couldn't be happier for the guy. We talked about him a few times over the past few weeks here. Obviously the American Express, he had a poor final round there, playing in the final group.
Yeah.
And this, it just kind of came full circle here, and like I say, couldn't be happier for him.
So do you think with time that putt on 18 is just kind of forgotten? Like it could have gone so bad if he lost the playoff, but since he did, like we can talk about the playoff in detail. Amazing recovery on 10, but
yes, I think if you lose, that putt stays in your memory. Like if he didn't win the playoff, I think because he won the playoff, that putt fades into the background.
Yeah, I totally think so,
agree.
which is incredible.
Yeah.
But he also spoke to this, that part of how he recovered mentally after missing that putt for the playoff was to think about all the things he did right to put himself in that position. Like, at the start of the day, if he were to be in a playoff to try to win the thing, he'd be happy. So you had spoken about how his wife said to, what was it? Forgive quickly?
Forgive quickly, yeah.
Forgive quickly, which is just a great outlook on life because there's no point in beating yourself up for something that's already happened. But I think for me, I think all of us are Fenow fans as well.
Yeah, it's true.
And I think we should get into the details of what happened a bit more, but I think it also makes it easier. Like if Fenow had been in Sam Burns' position and led all the way through this tournament into the final round and then fallen off, I think it'd be harder to swallow. But he came from nowhere and shot a 64 today, and anything, if he had snuck away with a win here, that's gravy. But it was a good Sunday performance for him.
Oh, absolutely. Fenow played incredible today. Until the playoff, I don't think he missed a putt inside 10 feet. He was putting lights out today. He was making everything he looked at. I think he got
a little bit hosed because that one bogey he had on 15 was about he got caught in that fairway bunker. It was like a foot from being an absolutely perfect drive. I mean, he did everything he had to do today.
And then back that up with 2 birdies. And then just his approach, both him and Max had huge drives on 18. But Finau's approach was just kind of a little bit you kind of more have to go center green there, right? And
that's also that's wwhy I get a little bit frustrated with this course, because that's you're uphill above. You think that should kick. But
they always talk about the Kikuya.
Yeah, it just lands so soft.
And he's a fader, right? So the more it fades, the more it's going to go away. So I kind of understand it, but
the one shot I had
highlighted
highlighted
short too, right?
Yeah,
it
was a mishit. I think
you didn't see balls bouncing from the rough onto the green there.
But he went up and down, which is
he did.
They were mentioning it's not an easy up and down by any means.
The one shot I had highlighted here was 17, the par 5. his second shot there. They had a good shot tracker on it, but he was off to the left side of the fairway, and he's a natural fader of the ball. He had to bring it right to left. Yeah. And he put himself in a great spot to have, a fairly easy up and down to make his birdie. Like those are the shots that I think sometimes, because it's not as flashy, where like you really stick one right next to the pin.
Yeah.
I mean, those are the shots that make guys like Tony Finau great.
Oh, totally. Because then he has a pretty low sweat birdie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because of that, he didn't hit a great drive. Obviously was in the rough, and when I saw that shot tracker, I thought he overcooked it for sure. He overhooked it just because of how much it was swinging.
Yeah.
But that was the side to miss it on, right?
Yeah.
It was a smart shot.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree with you, Craig, that his charge on Sunday is going to be digested a lot differently from him having that Burns position. But I don't know if this is now the time to talk about the playoff. But after the tee shots on 10, it was like, how does Homa come back? How does Finau not birdie, or like how does Homa possibly even go up and down?
Well, I mean, that's a tough birdie. That hole's a tough birdie regardless. But yeah, I mean, Finau wish it's one that I think he feels like he should get up and down from where he put his tee shot.
From where he was. You to win the tournament, you have to get up and down. You definitely hope he can. I mean, Homa almost got up and down from where he was. So. Mm-hmm.
So I mean, let's talk about that shot, because that was unreal. I think that's the shot of the tournament. His shot. Yes. So he off the tee on 10. He looked like he was totally snookered against a tree. It looked like the first shot they showed us. It looked like it was actually like up against the trunk.
Then he was going to have to go like sideways or backwards.
Yeah. Once we saw a little bit more, he was able to get like a hooded lob wedge or something onto it and hit it. Just a fantastic little chip shot.
Yeah.
Kind of all hands, all field, just kind of scooped his hands over and was able to get it. It was
a real Craig Baptiste-like shot.
You know what? That kind of speaks to, he's talked a lot over the past month or so about his mental approach and how it's very process-based, and you can't really be hung up on results, because golf is a fickle game, and
it's a process game.
The 10th hole of Riviera is, as he alluded to in his post round stuff, he likes, maybe there should be a little chaos in golf, he says, and he says he had a good shot off the tee there. You're pretty much aiming to end up right around where Tony was, and he said he pulled it maybe 5 yards off his line, and he ends up just in jail. So you can't go up there and be all dejected about it. You go up there, and he went up there, and he, seemingly has figured this is what I got to do now, and stepped up and did it. He didn't pout about it. Like, I think there's a fair number of guys that would get kind of mentally beat before they even attempted the shot there. So you got to give him credit for that.
Yeah. But after he missed that putt, because he was away, after they both got on the green, Kevin, like you said, Tony Finau was putting his the lights out today. I thought Tony was going to make that birdie putt for sure. It didn't, like
it was. I don't think those putts are as easy. Like, it's a tough downhill wait and lie. Like
yeah.
I 100% agree. I just thought that it was all coming up Tony. I mean, like it just seemed like it
felt like all the breaks were gonna be him then getting that win.
Because you get that huge lip out on 18 from Max. You get the in jail, and okay, Tony, like, here, man, it's your chance. Like,
get that. I mean, those putts are a little harder to make when it's like, here you go, it's your chance.
Absolutely,
get the monkey off your back. 36 top 10s without a win. Here you go, Tony.
Everyone's watching.
And then so the next hole, little par 4 or little par 3 there. I mean, not little, I guess, but he pulls his, maybe overcooks a draw, I guess is a little bit more what it was, into the bunker. And then I thought his bunker shot actually was better than the result. It looked like that was about, a foot or 2 feet in the landing area from being, right up next to the pin.
Yeah.
And ultimately, both of them missed their putts. But those, again, like, I think Finau's was 10 foot something. Like, those are less than 50-50 shots. Like, those are not putts you're expected to make.
They're really a combination of line and speed. Like, Max played his, he didn't hit it hard enough, essentially, for the line he chose and missed it low. And then Finau had just seen that, and he hit it a little harder, and he blew it past the break.
So I think there's a couple asterisks. Like, I agree it is less than 50 or whatever the stats say, but it's also the hottest player at that time on the course, and a pretty good read. Like,
well, I don't think Adam Scott was anywhere near the good. Oh.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Oh, man.
But you know what I mean? So he's got, like, there are things going for him that
Yeah.
I was more surprised by a miss than I would have been by a make for
With Finau's.
Tony's putt. Yeah. With Max's. As
And I think it also just, you don't want it to end that way. So like, I felt like I wanted it to go in and to then go to the next hole.
Because winning with a par, it seems a little different than like going out and like snatching a birdie on the last hole. You
For
know?
sure. Like,
Well,
you
I
wish
think everyone
Max
would
would
have
have drained
preferred
that
if
putt.
Yeah, exactly.
Either of those putts. But by the end, I feel like my blood pressure was high enough. I was just happy it ended with him getting the win.
And you get a little bit spoiled with like Morikawa JT playoff and like Rahm DJ with like them dropping bombs.
Yeah,
This one was
exactly.
Like, okay, in for par, that's a win.
Both those guys played just phenomenal golf on Sunday. You know, they deserved.
Yes.
They both deserved to be in a playoff, and they both deserved really to have putts to win. It's too bad nobody made really one of the putts to win, but at the end of the day, I think it came down to the two best players of Sunday for sure. So.
Yeah, because they won 66-64. The course is only one stroke under par on Sunday. Like, it was not a birdie fest at all. They just played crazy good. Yeah, like you said.
Yeah. Now, I think the other clear story of the week was Sam Burns, and that's the one. I don't know if you guys caught any of his. Obviously, they didn't have his interview right afterwards, but I caught a little bit of it on Golf Channel later on. But the final scores were that Homa and Finau tied out with 12. Burns was at 13 under through 9. Just really had to get into the house. Tough. I mean, after he got that break on 12, he still made a bogey, but he hit a ball that should have been out of bounds.
He sprayed
kicked back in.
Yeah.
I didn't.
And that
I
was
almost
way
felt
out.
like I didn't want him to win at that point because, like, everyone gets bounces, I guess, but it's just like, you deserved probably a double bogey at least, maybe a triple. Just a tough back nine, tough collapse.
It was almost like he knew how lucky he had gotten, and sort of was like, okay.
Deflated.
He was deflated, but really it was that was the turning point, because I think
first
he hit
bogey
a
of
loose,
the day for him.
Yeah, I think he hit a loose drive on 13 and ended up in the same spot Tony did in the bunker.
On 15 there. Yeah.
On 15.
Yeah. And then ended up right actually after that and had zero green to work with.
Yeah. I think he hit a big drive on 17, but really after that one on 12, he had a few loose swings there where he didn't, he did well to make par, I think, in a couple situations. So
he had 3 bogeys from 12, 13, 14, 15. He had 3 bogeys over those 4 holes. And it's just, it's just tough. It's 24-year-old who has not won yet, who has all the talent in the world. It's hard to see this because you kind of want to see him when he's led for so long in the tournament to take this one home. But he'll learn from this.
It's part of the learning experience.
He'll learn how it feels on Sunday when you are in control of the tournament and you should win it. And hopefully he adjusts to that better next time.
It is funny though, because Tony got in first with his 12 under, and then Max were like, okay, he's going to set the bar at 13, and Burns is behind him in the final group. So you're like kind of counting, okay, well now he's got to go eagle birdie, and he didn't get it. He only got a birdie, and like, oh wait, now he just has a birdie 18. Like he's still in. Like he had so many chances to still be in it because of how well he played Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
And part of today too, and part of Sunday. But
I mean, he went out in -4. Yeah, on the front 9.
31.
That's playing with the lead. That's awesome.
With DJ in your group.
With DJ,
everyone before this day started thought DJ was going to just hunt down these guys, I think.
Oh, yeah. DJ was the favorite.
So, like, personally,
really?
I felt
going
like
into the day, DJ was the favorite. He was.
Yeah, it was slight, but he was.
No, I think he was at like 150, and Burns was at 350.
Oh, sorry. I mean on data golf percentage to win.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about betting.
but it almost felt like I was like a little bit bored. Like come the turn, I was like, man, it's just gonna be like a Burns kind of cruising it, because he was playing so solidly. Like it felt like there was times where like there was a door, there's a door open to make a bogey or something, and he'd do a really good job getting up and down, or like that flub he hit on 10. So he was off to the left where Homa ended up, and he had a fine path out and just flubbed his chip, and then he managed to go up and down to save his par. It just felt like he was going to be able to get through all the trouble, all the obstacles that were thrown at them, and then it just the wheels came off.
Like, so Max went a very long time without a bogey, and Sam was kind of doing that as well, but Sam's were like, it seemed like 8-9 footers, while Max's are like 1-2 footers, and it's like, well, one of these is more sustainable than the other.
Totally.
Like, Sam was kind of running out of like his luck, or not his luck, but his ability to kind of stay bogey free was.
Well, and to keep the momentum going. It's tough to be making like 10, 12 footers for par.
Every hole, yeah.
So that was, so Max missed a birdie putt. I want to say it was on 16. He hit one in tight there, and he missed a birdie putt.
Because Fenow made one there.
And the exact same putt on the par 3. Yes.
And at that point, it did not look like he was going. It looked like he might have to do a little work to. Cause it looked like Fenow might be a little bit further ahead. But I was thinking, like, there's worse things in the world than a stress-free par on that hole and just being able to tap it. Like, yes, a missed birdie putt doesn't help, but he had a lot of those sort of stress-free pars.
Well, Max was hitting the ball so well tee to green, and he was like, he alluded to it in his post-round stuff, but he was trying to miss in all the right spots if he did miss, and that's what he did. That's why I didn't make bogeys. So the other thing I think it's important to mention is, like, Burns was only even a chance that Burns didn't win today because Homa and Fenow played so well. Like, there's another narrative where Burns, even though he made
neither
3
of those
bogeys
guys are close
on the back 9, like, nobody's even close. Those guys really went deep today to chase him down. Because either of those guys, if you told them they were going to get to -12 starting the day, they would have taken it for sure.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Now, golf is funny because it's one of these sports where I don't think you don't need to look the part, like, you could be a great golfer and, maybe like a Harry Higgs is a good example, but like Sam Burns looks the part. Like, Sam Burns looks like a professional athlete, and like, he looks like the kind of guy who's going to be winning a lot of golf tournaments. And so, Adam had mentioned it. I forget if it was on our sleeper show. I think it was on our sleeper show, that like, this is a guy who's going to be getting a win soon. And it would have been nice if it was this one, but I still feel like the stock is pointing up with
absolutely. And I got some good little nuggets for
okay, let's hear them.
Okay, someone else in his group, Dustin Johnson, we kind of touched on him briefly. What do you think about, like, just how flat he came out today? What are you guys' thoughts on DJ?
So I mean, what are you doing making a 5 on the first hole? First off, if you're Dustin Johnson,
you can't.
Now, I was looking at that though, and so the play, I don't know if you guys saw that, but the play he took like a flatter, like a less loft on his chip. I think he was playing for it to land softly on that collar. Like, because they always talk about this Kikuya and how soft, how grabby it is. I think essentially he was playing for that to be like a soft bounce and then like have a roll and trickle on it. And it just like, it hit it hard and came out as if it was not this soft Kikuya. But regardless of that, he was 34 on the front still. He was flat, but like that's not that bad. He's 1 under. He still...
It kind of got away from him a little bit on the back, but at that point he was kind of like, Burns was pulling away. Burns was 4 under, starting with a 2-shot lead. So, DJ was losing ground.
Well, 9-10, DJ went bogey. That was around the time he hit the tree. And that was sort of the end.
That was that. Yeah. I mean, ultimately, DJ's going to be right in the mix in the next tournament he decides to play in. It's not like I'm worried about DJ or anything. It's just
I'm
it was
worried.
I
one
don't
of those,
know. Like
maybe this is the precipice.
No,
his
come
last
on,
win
guys.
wasn't
Come on.
convincing, Kevin. And then
We
this
don't
one,
need to
he's in the
argue
final
about whether
group.
DJ is going to be still relevant next week.
No, but I do think one of the interesting stats that I heard, this was the first time since this tournament last year that he had a Sunday round over par.
Yeah, that's true.
So I mean, yes, we're not worried about DJ's long term. Whether DJ's lost it, but it's just more. Yeah, the magic's not going to be there every week.
Luckily, I've already used him in the one and done. You guys are screwed now.
Yeah, stock down on DJ. The other guy in that group, I believe, is Fitzpatrick. Dominated in the wind, lowest apex player on tour. That's a little nugget for you guys. Keeps it low, but kind of disappeared early. Didn't really pull anything together. I mean,
Where did he end up?
He ended up T5.
T5,
He shot
even
71
on the
today.
day.
Yeah.
So
But
he was up and down through the front nine. He had 3 bogeys, 3 birdies, and then just straight pars through the back nine.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think Fitzpatrick's the kind of guy that when it was blowing like it was on Saturday, he's grinding out, what was he, 3 under through his round at that point. Perfect conditions. Maybe it's more of a ball striker's course than it is the grinder and the putter's course.
So something about Fitzpatrick's day too is he wasn't able to tee off 18 yesterday evening, and so had to come back in the morning to play 18.
Yeah.
Ended up bogeying, but that kind of throws your whole day off too. To get up and play
it pushes
one
your
hole.
wake up.
Yeah,
like 3 hours. No,
they
probably
did
more than
mention
that.
how with Tony he was able to finish yesterday, so he didn't have to get up and come play anything in the morning. So yeah, it pushed his wake up way back and kind of is more like a normal day. But
I mean,
think that was
as well. So
right, but I just think it was a bit of a bad way for Fitzpatrick to start the day. I guess you start with a bogey, you fall one further back, and
you have to do kind of a full warm up for one hole to get a bogey. Then you have to go like eat something and warm up again. Like that's just that's a grind.
Yeah, it is.
I think the only other guy that really seemed to have a chance of snatching the lead was Cam Smith late on Sunday.
Yeah, he played great.
Honestly, I'm so
himself?
impressed by Cam Smith.
Because like he just rocks that penguin wear, or the mullet. What
I love the
impresses you?
penguin stuff. I do.
Me too.
There's just something like he seems like one of these guys. I feel like we can describe it better than this, but he's just a gamer. Like he's not someone I would want to play against late in the tournament. Like I forget who it was, but someone mentioned it on the broadcast that like he's the type of guy that loves to be in the situation where it's like you're high stress competitive, and like you can kind of just see that watching him, and you would hate to play against that kind of guy. You're like, I'm miserable here trying to get through this, and you're just loving every second of it.
It's kind of like it feels like you're gonna see him in a green jacket one day, does it not?
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah, I think he has major championship game.
Yeah,
and I think so. So this is something Homa was saying in his post game that he's kind of coming to the realization that he plays his best at hard courses, and I think Cam Smith is another example of that. Adam and I were talking about this on one of our picks shows this week that. There's guys, there's kind of journeyman types that they'll make their hay on the birdie fest weeks when you go out there and you just are trying to go 20 under. And then there's other guys that they may not be stars, but still when they come to hard courses, they're way more competitive than you think they would be. And I think he's definitely one of those guys that is always going to play his best when conditions are tough and stress is high and all of those type of things.
I think guys that really have complete games are able to do that. Guys that can work the ball both ways, that have solid short games. They're the guys that rise to the top on the hard courses for sure.
He just seems like one of these guys where like if I was a PGA pro, I'm going out with like Rory and DJ and Cam Smith, and like they're flashy, they're bombing it, and it's like Cam Smith is kind of nonchalant, like, oh, what'd you shoot at the end of the day? He's like, oh, 65. Like, what? Like, you beat all of us? Like,
well, and then so think about 17. That hole is super long for a par 5, for PGA Tour players. We had, DJ, Sam Burns, Tony Finau. You know who got on in 2 was Cam Smith.
Yeah, but a lot of guys were like just over the back or just off to the left.
No, he's 16 feet away.
But like Burns came up short, DJ came up short, Finau like Cam Smith's the one that knocked it down the middle of the fairway and then knocked it onto the like.
Yeah, Burns also hit a 4-iron.
Yeah, all I'm saying is that Cam Smith, like, you don't think of him as, I don't know. There's just,
I love it.
He's got enough distance. Yeah, I mean, I'm not really worried that he's too bunt to be out there or anything like that.
It's like at the start of the day when Fitzpatrick pulled that 7-wood on the par 3. DJ's
no, but I guess what I mean is you think of like only like the guys who are bombers really having advantages there. But these guys who are more gamers, they can still, like, all they have to do is put 2 good shots together and they'll be right there with the bombers.
Yeah. Well, I even think about that with somebody like Webb. Webb seems to be able to get on it too when he has to, and you don't think of him as a super long hitter. He's a gamer for sure.
Yeah.
The other thing with the Sunday is like the classic another backdoor finishes from these stars. Rahm, Hovland, Molinari, like all came to T5, T8. Like they just collect another paycheck. Like they never really were in it at any point, but another top win. Points.
Well, I think Rahm especially so not being in it. I mean,
Well, Rahm and Hovland really
they won 66, 67. They were never really close enough, but
well, Hovland. Yeah, I guess I mean more like earlier in the tournament. Like Rahm had been around par. I think Hovland went the other way at one point because first round I think he was in decent shape.
He was 2 under after 2 rounds.
Yeah. Okay. Rahm though came out and shot 66 today. He was 4 under through 6 holes. Like for a while, it was like, is Rahm gonna like try to compete in this tournament? Like what's?
Yeah, no, it's what the stars do.
Just classic top 5 golfer stuff.
I don't have much to say about them. They're really good. Eventually, it averages out, right?
And you know what, Molinari, good bounce back because he had an ugly last few days there at Pebble, and so this is his home course and. I think Kevin, it's the classic post picking someone for one and done, coming back to get a good paycheck the next week.
I gotta say, I heard that I didn't know at the time when I picked him for my one and done last week, but he didn't have his regular caddy, so he was having to do all his numbers himself.
I didn't know.
So wait, checking notes for later in the show. Does that mean I should look at Bubba for the WGC? Kevin's one and done, or
I think you should play Bubba in the WGC.
Okay, talking about stars that missed the cut.
So just real quick before we get into the guys that missed the cut, another showing from Spieth. Jordan Spieth still plays golf. And until, I think it was sometime when in the wind yesterday, he was in second place at some point yesterday. So I don't know, like last week you guys were still maintaining that he's not back. Are you willing to... What is back? Define back. What is Craig's
I think you're putting
definition?
words in my mouth.
Okay, well, so I agree he's not back. He's not going to be a 3-time major winner, number 1 in the world. But I think the corner is turned, and he's going to be competing or like playing well on a week-to-week basis. I don't need to see more, is what I'm saying.
I agree, but I don't think his game is. Like, a lot of things need to go right for him to win. I think a lot of things are going right for him to compete.
But that happens for everyone in golf. Like,
but he used to win, like, all the time. Like, I'm not, like, Kevin grabbed the Masters out, right? I'm not there yet. He dominates that course, but I think he still needs to hit fairways, which he's not doing. Like, he does these miraculous things every day.
I mean, I did grab that outright. I'm surprised you're bringing this up. I was the one who said exactly what you're saying right now, Craig. I said that last week. That I think
is stuffing words in your mouth.
I can't believe you think
I
Jordan
agree.
Spieth
He's not
sucks
all the way. He's not all the way back to polished like peak Jordan Spieth, but he's playing good enough that he can flash and he can compete in these tournaments for sure. So, we'll see where he takes it.
Yeah. Okay, just wanted to check that one off. Got to get the Jordan Spieth take in.
Okay, fine. As I was going to say, the stars that missed the cut. I said in our halfway show on YouTube, I said it's the red wedding, Riviera red wedding with JT, Rory, Bryson.
I felt like it wasn't a great joke at the time, and
I'm doubling down on it.
Starks missing the cut.
Come on, that's great. I mean, any quick thoughts on? Come on,
that's great. Come on.
Well, I picked JT to win, so what
was the rationale there?
I thought that he had been playing well. He'd gotten himself in position at Waste Management, and then he got the news about his grandfather Saturday night, and wasn't really focused on the Sunday. Had other things on his mind, as we can all understand. But I thought ultimately his golf game was in good shape, and that he might, having gone through his grieving and everything, that he might come back and have a little bit of extra motivation. But no, not at all. His game, I don't know if it's not in shape, or I didn't get to see any of it on Thursday, but that's where he lost it. Essentially, he what was he, 6 over after?
Yeah, he was
ejected from the
He was pretty much out of it. So, I noticed a lot of talk on your guys' show though on Thursday night about how Rory was for sure going to be making the cut.
Oh,
and
speaking of putting words in someone's mouth, Craig, let's hear your.
So, first off, I picked all of these guys. I didn't pick any of these guys in DFS, so I'll stand by my tournament long take. But then, I came out and said Rory was a good play in Showdown, because I think that anytime one of these stars goes, is way down the leaderboard, they get totally under-owned. I mean, you saw it from Rahm today. They get totally under-owned in Showdown, and then they're just as likely to go out there and have a good tournament. Yeah, like it didn't work with Rory on Friday, but man, I'll continue to make that play.
Shame on you for not predicting one round of golf, Craig. How dare you?
Shame on you.
Sorry for the worst round I think we've seen from Rory's short game in years.
Game of Thrones reference. Shame.
And so my original rationale essentially was less so that I actually expected these three to miss the cut, and more just I felt like DJ has been playing so well that it just felt like his floor was basically what we saw from him.
I think that's kind of right.
And it didn't quite work out because I had lumped Rahm in with those guys, but I think it'll be interesting to see what these next few weeks. I think the Florida swing is a pretty comfy one, for Rory. I don't know how JT spends a ton of time down there. Is he his residence there now?
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Probably
I know typically Florida is where a lot of these guys make bank for the year. So I think this next month leading up to the Masters is going to be very interesting to follow these three to see what their form looks like.
Yeah, I was surprised by Bryson a little bit, but we'll see.
I kind of have Bryson as the quickest turnaround.
Well, he sorted it out on the range there on Thursday night, so he's good.
Yeah, he's all good.
He was the only one who looked. He obviously he had too much ground to make up. He was the only one that actually looked good the next day.
Yeah, that's true.
So, are we going to talk about the kind of craziness that was Saturday at Riviera? You want to talk about the
wind delay? Yeah.
So, I mean, kicking off, Craig, you're talking about one today with Dustin because Dustin was in Max's group on Saturday, right? One of the last groups, I think, to go out on one. Max hits it to the far left, it seems like, on one, and the wind they cut to DJ because DJ's playing right away. As DJ hits, Max is rolled 30 feet, right beside the pin.
Well, that's a little bit of a stretch. Max, it was he played a cut in there, and it was kind of taking the slope down because the whole green slopes that way. But it definitely got a good 10-foot rollout from that's a great look at eagle to that almost went in.
But it was a weird combination of the wind, but also the camera cutting away. Because we're I guess it's gonna settle there. They know it's gonna settle, or what's happening?
And then Faldo was when DJ shot, he's oh my god, look at Max's ball.
It was crazy. So we had, Keegan Bradley putt off the green on 10,
that
between
was
the bunkers. JB Holmes hat's flying and his ball's flying. So they called it. Craig, I don't know if you want to talk about. I feel like you were disappointed with the call.
I was super disappointed, and to be fair, at that point, I agree that the call was right and it had to happen, because if the ball's not going to stay on the green, you can't play golf.
Ultimately, they said it was a safety issue too, right?
That's a bunch of baloney, if you ask me. So I shouldn't say that. I didn't see any reason that it had to stop because of safety issues.
Well, they said they had a piece of communication equipment fall close to some volunteers or some players or something.
Yeah, and I don't dispute that happened. And you know what? I guess the problem I have is if the one of the major reasons they're stopping it is because these greens aren't holding the ball. Like, what did they do to the course? Like, did they cut and roll that morning? Did they soak these greens? Yes. Yeah, that's what I thought I heard. Is that they cut and rolled that morning. So like those winds were exactly what was forecast. So essentially they went into the day with the plan that essentially they're going to stop the tournament because of the wind. And so, or otherwise, if you know that this 20 mile an hour ish wind that has gusts that are forecast to 35, if you know that's going to be blowing the ball around in the green, then soak your greens the night before and leave them, you know, like maybe you have to roll them, or like maybe you have to do something so that they're not playing on you know, they're playing on some kind of fresh green. But you don't need to continue to make your greens as fast as they can be if you're going to have problems with balls rolling around on them.
So I agree Didn't they say today too that they didn't cut them today? Yeah. I think they just rolled them today.
Because they were worried about the wind when there was like no wind forecast today. Like it's like they like, yeah, for sure. It just seems to me like that could have been one of the best few hours of golf thus far so far this year. And they put themselves in a position where it wasn't even a possibility.
I agree 99%. I think the one thing I would say is, looking back at the forecast, I think they did get peaks of like 45 miles per hour of gusts. Yeah. So that might be like a 10 mile per hour difference where it would blow the ball. I don't know. But everything was laid out in front of them that this was going to happen. And
ultimately, if it, like, you know, I don't know, I'm not behind the scenes. If it was purely about player safety, I'm totally fine with that. You know, like if there's concerns about things blowing over or branches blowing off, I'm totally fine with them not being on the course. Like, it's freaking golf. We don't need people actually being in life dangerous situations. But if it's just they're saying that, but it's actually about the quality of play and the fact that the ball is rolling around the greens, then like they made a mistake leading up to that. The balls are rolling
I don't know.
around.
When you texted me or we were talking and you said you wanted to see some carnage, I didn't know you wanted to see guys getting like branches, like real carnage. I think you're talking about golf.
Oh,
listen, they've got insurance companies sponsoring these tournaments. What's the rub?
Okay, I think the last thing we talk about in this main section, which I think is most of our podcast now, is we kind of got a little taste of Tiger today, and I'll pass it over to the guy wearing the TW on his hat. What did you think of Tiger in general?
I'm not gonna say it was like super reassuring when I saw the Tiger. He looked a little dejected.
There's a lot of painkiller takes. There's a lot of
there's a few memes going out there about Tiger's look there that he was rocking when he was doing his interview.
Maybe sembling that Maui Wowie.
I don't know. It didn't fill me with optimism that he's going to be in peak form in April. That's for sure.
At peak form, I don't know if he's going to be able to play. That was
my
takeaway.
I was going for a little understatement there, but it didn't fill me with optimism. Let's just leave it at that, I guess.
I think the other thing, like, it doesn't fill you with optimism about the Masters in a month and a half. I think the reality is that the amount of high level golf from Tiger, like the clock is ticking.
Didn't he say that?
I think that's very true. I think that most people can accept that at this point.
Did I hear this, or did he say like this is his last kind of go at his back surgery kind of, and then like,
well, essentially he can't continue. He can't keep having surgeries on his back. I think in some ways, maybe this will be like the last time he gets himself recovered from this surgery, goes through the full rehab to get back in. Like, I always come back to the Andrew Luck thing, because that's one of the times I saw the mental and emotional toll that rehabbing takes on an athlete. But like, it's an absolute grind for these guys, and you don't see it. You only see before the process and then after they've gone through the process. But like, it's a constant grind for weeks and months to get back to what they have to the form they have to be in, the condition they have to be in to go out there and compete at their sport. And I mean, Tiger Woods, he needs 83. Like, I think that's probably the one thing that I would think is keeping him coming back right now. I mean, you have to think that 18 is out of the window.
No,
Maybe
I think
Kevin
it absolutely is.
But I think 83 is the one.
I'm never going to say it's impossible. It's Tiger.
Maybe he should be looking at like the Puerto Rico and the Barracuda and just try to knock off 83.
He doesn't want to jinx himself with the Puerto Rico. Come on.
Do you guys have an alternate limited field event that you're looking to fill?
Come on. Like that? Don't disrespect Tiger like that.
Okay, let's move into 3 stars. My 3rd star for the week is Tony Finau.
Ooh, harsh. Makes the
I know,
playoff.
a little bit harsh. He's getting the 3rd star, but I mean, we talked about Tony in like I just really feel like he needs to get the 2nd win. It's looming. Every, like Kevin, like you said, this is 3 second place finishes in a row. It just looms larger and larger. He needs to get his 2nd win.
And you know what? I think it might come in a fashion like today. Maybe it was just a little bit too far back going into the day, but I think he could, be a few shots back and charge and kind of snatch one from somebody.
Yeah.
Rather than having to be the face of going into the final round as the lead and, all that. Alternatively, maybe he could just win one by like 6 and take the pressure off himself.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Just run away with one.
Yeah.
2nd star is Sam Burns. And Sam Burns gets the 2nd star because, as we said, like he was leading for 65 holes. Like he was 1st round, 2nd round, 3rd round, as Craig mentioned. Just couldn't get it done. The one stat I wanted to pull up. So this is his per round scoring ranks on the PGA Tour. So 1st round, he ranks 5th. 2nd round, he ranks 5th. Both around 67, 68 scoring average. We get to the 3rd round, 178th. He drops to 71. And then 4th round, 134th. So 5th on Thursday and Friday to 178th and 134th. Those, like, I know sometimes we can cherry pick stats, but those are about 3 strokes difference. Like if you look at his actual scoring averages, it's weird. It's weird. I don't know what's happening.
That is weird.
What's happening is definitely target him for 1st round leader. If you're looking for 1st round leader bets,
or you just need a cut made.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, it's an interesting stat. He is young, so I don't know. There's a whole bunch of things that I think can come into play there. Tournaments being set up more difficult. He doesn't really seem like someone who should be doing that much worse on a difficult setup than
I think it is just that he's young. I think the long-term outlook is very, very positive for him.
Yeah.
1st star, Max Homa. We talked about him in detail, and I'm sure we can talk about him a little bit more, so I'll just kind of leave it at that. 1st star, Max Homa. He went out and did what he needed to do. Great Sunday, great playoff. He did it. He got his
win. His favorite tournament,
won his favorite tournament.
My wife, the early coverage of the end of the 3rd round was on this morning, and I had it on upstairs. Usually I'm not watching golf upstairs just because that's where we're civilized up there. But I had it on in the morning, and she was wondering why DJ was shooting again, because when they came out, I don't know if you guys noticed, but their look was like spot on matching. But yeah, looked like he was DJ out there finishing the round today.
Okay, so I think we're gonna shuffle things up a little bit on our podcast order here. We're gonna actually jump into kind of more of our Sunday soapbox. I think we're still figuring out the name of this, but we're gonna go with In Your Face with Kevin.
Yeah, it's a working title. Yeah,
it's a working title. Yeah.
So this is my my center of the club face, pie in the face moments of the week. So center of the club face this week is Max and his chipping on 10. So he had some unbelievable chips on 10 this week. On Saturday, he put himself in the front right bunker, and he was short.
I was trying to remember the Saturday one, but I remember now.
And he was kind of up against the right lip, and anyway, he went right at it. He pulled off an unbelievable shot where he left himself below the hole.
Yes.
On like a green where you see guys go back and forth all the time. And
essentially he had to carry, like it was one of these ones where it wasn't like he was right next, on the upslope or something. Like he had to carry the bunker shot and then have it stop in a very narrow range.
He pretty much had to, landed on a ping pong paddle. I think I heard that reference on the broadcast, and with zip, and after carrying it, 20 yards ish, and he did it, and then made the putt for birdie. And holy cow, the guys, there's some pros that went to Twitter to give him his props for that, saying they'd never seen somebody hit from there and leave it short of the hole like he did. So that was awesome. Today, during the regular play, he got up and down out of the same bunker as an easier bunker shot, but left himself with about a 6 or 8 footer, something like that. Good bunker shot, and made the putt. Another birdie, and then in the playoff, unbelievable, that hooded bumper he hit up there. I wish he would have made the putt to have kind of birdie from all those spots, but just the mental toughness, like I was saying before, to go up to that shot and not be dejected about where he ended up, to just say, he alluded to it in his post round where he said, I didn't really think it was as tough a shot as some people seem to think it was, but I mean, I can't believe he walked up to that knowing what he was going to do and just doing it as confidently as he did. So especially in the situation,
he took that in stride. Yeah.
So I thought that was awesome. So center of the club face was Max on 10. It was awesome, and it essentially that won him the tournament. Just because of game, every stroke counted in the end.
Well, those 3 shots could have easily added 3, like 1 to each of them. Like the up and downs are incredible.
Yeah, they really were. So then the pie in the face moment, I'm going to stick with Max. Thank God this didn't end up actually being, what decided the tournament, but Max's putt on 18, said he was super nervous over it, had the jitters, didn't hit a good putt. First putt all day, he hadn't hit kind of where he was looking, or how he wanted to. And, anyway, could have been really bad. Luckily he escaped with the win anyway. So, dodged a bullet there, but could have been bad. So,
and just on that, I think it was Faldo mentioned that his demeanor when he got up to the green and or even right after he hit that shot, it was like he sort of felt like he had won it already. He was smiling and
right. I think that was just excitement, really. That
adrenaline and excitement. Yeah. But it was one of those things where maybe going forward, he got away with this one, but maybe going forward, he has a little bit more of that killer instinct running through the finish line, than pulling up to celebrate. Or well, I don't think it was the celebrate. I think it was more just it felt like the hard part was done, and he felt like the burden had been eased. And
he had done what he needed to do. Yeah. He just didn't really put the cherry on top of it.
Quick story from my household from that putt. So usually on Sunday when we're watching with me, my wife, and my 1.5-year-old daughter, my wife will ask who are you cheering for? Who should I put my good energy behind? I'm well, I got a Tony Finau ticket. I picked him to win, so Tony Finau. And then as things played out and Max Homa had this putt to win, she's I'm yeah, it's over. He really went out and won this. He did this. So we're sitting there and he misses it, and we both go Wah! And my daughter is so scared she starts crying.
She's a Homa fan.
She's a Homa fan. So I'm kind of excited because there's this playoff now, and I don't know what's happening with Burns, and then this is happening. She's crying, and it was chaotic. It was a chaotic moment in our household.
I had the opposite reaction. I was like, oh my.
Yeah, mine was a devastating reaction.
But just real quick on the pie in your face. The other, so you're talking about how he had landed on about a ping pong paddle size thing. I forget who it was that was chipping, but at one point on the broadcast it came up. They were talking about a circle, a square foot. This wasn't Max.
Oh yeah.
And so they the whole broadcast crew, I don't know who all it was, but there was 4 or 5 different people chiming in on this, but they were talking about how a circle the size of a square foot, and they couldn't get through they couldn't understand
it was so
that
bizarre.
A circle could be measured in square feet. Well, if it's square feet, how could it be a circle? And then they were talking about it's pi times d, and I'm like, well, no, that's not right either. Like, it'd be pi r squared. I was just like, man, like the complete lack of any logical voice to come in there and correct the situation just ate at my soul.
That was really weird. I agree. It was Faldo and Dottie, I know, and a couple others were as well. But
I just great. Really like technical director in their ear. Someone's just like, no, like just like
guys, move on. You gotta move past this.
Either someone needs to get this right, or you guys need to move on.
Yeah. Craig, I don't know if we're going on the soapbox this week, but do you have takes on Riv?
So yeah, I mean, I don't think my take is as harsh as potentially I was making it come off to you guys when we were, in our lead up to the show. I don't like 10. I think so. If you think about the playoff today, because I think this is the best way I can explain it. Think about 17 at TPC Scottsdale at the Waste Management, and how exciting for like a drivable par 4, how exciting that hole is. Think about if the playoff was happening on that hole. To me, that's just so much better than 10. Like, it essentially the strategy on 10, and the data points to this being the right decision, but it's just to like smack it up there somewhere around those trees, or hope you're
lose it left.
Yeah, like you're ideally trying to be about where Fenow was, or maybe short of there, but like you can't be short enough to bring that bunker into play. So essentially you're hitting it sort of towards the left edge / those short trees. And it just doesn't like, I mean, I guess, yes, it is an exciting hole, but it's not as exciting as I feel like it could be. Like, I feel like that hole has so much more potential. They've taken away the layup because the green is so hard to hold that you can't hold it with a full wedge. So there's no advantage to trying to lay up and hit a full wedge in. So essentially the only play that makes sense is to just hit it up near the green. And instead of like, it's just, there's too much, maybe Max Homa was saying that he likes it, but there's just too much chaos involved. Like I would like a little bit more direct, like risk reward, where like, at TPC, like, how close do you want to go over towards that water, and how much risk do you want to take on, or you put over where Koepka did, over more in that gully, and then you make the birdie, or in Koepka's case an eagle, much harder. It's just, there's no nuance to that hole, I don't think.
Right, but the thing, I'll maybe agree with you in the aspect it maybe isn't the best playoff hole, like, because it's a little bit too much chaos, but I do like it. I mean, these guys can deal with one hole like that a week kind of thing. Like it's not like it's.
I want the ability for a great shot to be
that
made.
Way.
Like, that's the problem I have, is that there's no real way that you can make a great shot into that green.
Well, Homa did. Like,
like
chipping
from the tee,
around
like,
that green. His chipping around that green is, you could argue, won him the tournament, But
it's just to slap it up there, and then it's a short game off. And like, I get that but it's just, to me, I would like it if you could hit a great shot into that green. You could take on more risk and hit a great shot, and it could hold somehow. Or like there'd be the possibility of that. And it's just not there.
Was on it today.
I think it's also difficult with the pin placements there, because I'd like to see 2 up front through the 4 days. I think just with the shape of the green, they're mostly kind of tucked behind that bunker, so you can't. There's less reward with the first shot. But the reason I do like it, I think it was Thursday morning we had Cantlay, Rahm, and Morikawa, and they just made a complete mess of it. Like, I think
I love it.
Bogey double, or double bogey or something. Like, they were going back and forth. Like, the guys on the tee were like, guys, we need to play through or something. It's the green. I think it's the green complex that maybe it's a little bit too sloped that it doesn't hold. And it's small. It's much smaller than, I think, Scottsdale 17. So it's harder to kind of
wait.
Yeah, and they did talk about how it was, it's such an old course. It was designed when greens were slower too, right?
Oh, but it's totally changed. Like, that front bunker wasn't there. Like, the hole has totally changed from when it was originally designed, because essentially they've tried to protect it
as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, it's just I get that. I get that it's. I like drivable par 4s. I think they introduce a lot of excitement and interest, and I don't mind the fact that you can make doubles there. It's just I wish there was a little bit more nuance to it, and I think that's about as sharp as my take needs to be.
It's not that sharp.
Right,
no,
no, I love.
I like to say my really sharp takes for when I really need them.
Yeah, no. Hey, fair enough. Fair enough.
Fair enough.
Okay, should we move on?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, let's do it. Stock up, stock down. Craig, do you want to kick it off this week?
Yeah, let's do it. I've just got to go with two young guys here. I feel like they're moving in different directions. Stock up, Viktor Hovland. You know, we talked about him having a nice backdoor top 10, but I feel like we're just sort of unconsciously lumping Viktor Hovland into the top 10 in the world. Like we lumped him in with Rahm there. He's very, very good, and I think we sort of, you know, Mayakoba, he won there. We've sort of just taken for granted, I think, how good he's playing right now. And I mean, maybe not all of us are taking it for granted because I picked him this week. Just a great call by me. But so the one I think that illustrates it the best is tied for 6th or better in 5 of his last 6 starts.
Worldwide, is that?
Worldwide, yes.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
He hasn't missed a cut. Sorry, let me scroll here. He hasn't missed a cut since the Honda Classic last year. He's playing really, really good golf. And I feel like we're sort of still lumping him in. I think maybe some people keep him still a notch below Morikawa. Like,
it's the major. That's why. Yeah.
Yeah, but like to me, he is they're on that same tier at the top of the young gun rankings to me.
I agree.
Yeah, Kevin's
Kevin's
on
just
board
nodding.
too.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, okay. Now going in the opposite direction,
right.
Matthew Wolfe. It was, you know, he did make a cut here. I think he made it on the number or close to. But it's been a struggle for him. So he ended up 6 over. He shot a pretty ugly 77 on Saturday. Probably a little bit Saturday, maybe a little bit on Sunday morning. But regardless, ended up tied for 64th. So about, you know, of the people who made the cut, almost coming last. But so he went 2nd at the U.S. Open and then tied for 2nd at the Shriners. I don't know if it was the next week, but it was his next start. Yeah, right. Then he's had 7 straight tournaments, and his best finish in those tournaments is tied for 36th. He really, we really have not seen him play good golf for quite a while. And I think consistency, you know, leading up to the US Open and sort of maybe the late summer, consistency, we weren't quite putting Matthew Wolfe into the same tier as some of those other young guys because of consistency. And then he went and played so well at the major that we started to then just think he'd arrived. And I think we're seeing that you know, he still has some work to be up, you know, with
growing pains.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree with everything. I mean, I think it's been kind of pump the brakes for Wolfe for a bit. All right, Kevin, who do you have moving up?
Well, moving up for me, I wanted to give another shout out to Sam Burns. You know, he jumps from 149th in the world to 80th in the world with this finish.
A little bit shocking that he was 149th.
It is a little bit shocking. You know, he missed a cut at the American Express, but the tournament before that, in the Houston Open, he was a T7. Since then, since the missed cut, he's gone T18, T22, T39, and now 3rd. So he's playing pretty solid golf. And he's trending in the right direction. And I mean, what we saw this week, it was really an impressive performance. And, you know, I like I said, there was a narrative out there where even though he makes a few bogeys on the back 9 today, he still wins his tournament. So
absolutely.
You know, it's too bad for him because, you know, like we were talking about with all the stuff this does for Max as far as qualifying him for the Masters and the WGC.
Right.
You know, it would have done the same for Sam. But, you know, there's definitely a lot of takeaways, I think, for him from this week. And I would expect to see him to continue to play well. You know, now that he's got a taste of it, it's fun to be up in the lead competing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So he's
a
moving
talent
up for me.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things for me is that, when I think of Sam Burns, I think of someone who off the tee is really where he, one of his bread and butters. Yeah. He lost strokes off the tee. And
for the tournament?
In the tournament. He lost strokes every day. Do I have the right person pulled up? Yeah, I do. He lost strokes every day. I mean, it was not a whole lot. It only amounted to like one stroke over the course of the tournament. But he lost a stroke there, and he gained almost 7 on approach. So, he was hitting the ball really well, but not, I think, in the fashion that we would have thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. That is really interesting.
Yeah, they were talking about how well he was playing approach to the green. So, yeah, surprising a little bit, but maybe that's his game kind of maturing and taking the next step, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So moving down for me this week, I have somebody we all like, but Harry Higgs. He's just really not playing that well as of late. He's missed. He had the second place finish at the Safeway there back when Stuart Sink won. Since then, he's missed 6 of 10 cuts. And he's missed the last 3. So, and this week he wasn't even really close. Like, I think he was +5 after 2 rounds this week. So I think that's kind of been the case for the last few he's missed as well. So, I don't know what's going on there, if he's working on something or what, but he's somebody I was looking to pick a couple weeks ago for a sleeper, and I was like, I haven't really seen anything from him lately, so I've been keeping my eye on him a little bit more, and unfortunately it's just not really there for him right now. So a little bit of a stock down. Hopefully he can turn it around, but not playing awesome right now.
I have to agree. Yeah,
it's something that we've been following because he is typically a guy I like to pick in DFS, and I've gotten burned by him a few times, so finally he's not making the lineups, and until
I got to see something here. Yeah, exactly. Okay, guys, you guys both want with these young talents going up. I'm gonna change it up a little bit. So my stock up, Jim Furyk.
Oh,
yeah,
Champions Tour next week or what?
Back to back top 26s for Furyk. He hasn't done that since 2019. I believe he is 26 this week, 21st the week before. I just think it's funny that I think in the last 2 weeks, the USGA came out with the whole distance thing and the game and all these things about how are we going to kind of evolve the game and changing equipment and courses and all this. This is a guy who's 50. He averages 287 off the tee, 187th on tour, so 287 yards off the tee. He has a funny swing, and he just went 21st and 26th on the PGA Tour on really difficult courses with good fields. Like, that's awesome. I love it. I mean, I'm not telling you to get Jim Furyk at the ground level here. Like, I think his time might have passed a little bit, but I love to see it. I mean, I love to see it.
There's someone, I forget who it is, but they got a great Jim Furyk story. They talk about how the first time they saw him on the driving range, 20.
I think it's Faldo.
Is it Faldo?
I think so, yeah.
Just like they saw his swing, they're like, this guy's going to be out of here in a month, or like this guy won't last 2 weeks. And then, 30 years later, here he is.
He's in like the top 5 of all time career money list people.
Yeah, I think it's just incredible what he's done. Not really optimistic that big things are ahead, but he's going to dominate the Champions Tour. It's just, I love it. Especially with this whole distance thing.
Maybe a sneaky top 20 bet. One of these tournaments.
Maybe a sneaky one and done pick.
Ooh. Hey,
that's really sneaky.
I could use any change to my strategy these days.
Okay, moving down, I got Joel Damon. Year to year, since we flipped to 2021, it's gone bad. So he's missed 4 cuts in his last 5 tournaments. His only made cut was a 60th at Pebble. I just like he's just gone cold. I don't know. I think he's a West Coast guy, and he has a West Coast swing, so everything should be kind of lining up. And he finished 2020 okay, but just a really kind of poor stretch for a guy who, like Craig, like a guy that I look for in DFS, possibly a sleeper.
You
or
think of
maybe
him
a
as someone
play.
with upside.
Yeah,
with upside for sure. But it's just an easy guy to root for, but just a bad stretch of golf. I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah, and tied for 5th at this tournament last year. So it's a course that he has played well on before.
Yeah. Okay, so our picks that we put on Twitter every Wednesday, we got our winner, sleeper, fade, top Canadian, one and done. Going through the highlights here, I had Tony Finau as the winner. He's been playing great, but lost in that playoff. That's okay. I actually did.
Yeah, so much that you cheered when a guy missed a 3-foot putt.
No,
I
I
wanted your winner.
That's what I said. I didn't cheer. I let out a loud noise that scared my daughter. That's all. I didn't
okay.
cheer. It was a gasp. It was a gasp.
It was a gal. You were awestruck.
Craig went with Xander. Kevin, as you mentioned, went with JT. Our sleepers were Doug Gibb, Cam Davis, Norlander. Nothing of note there. Fade. Big fade with Bryson DeChambeau for Kevin, who missed the cut. So that was a good fade. Craig had the fade bump to Jon Rahm, who ended up backdoor to top 5. But, Craig's fades worked out on DFS, which we talked about
I'm
last
pretty happy
Wednesday,
with my fades this week.
Yeah.
The problem was I faded 4 guys at the top, and the one person I chose for my fade here was the one who made the cut.
It's always nerve-wracking putting it on the pick sheet. It goes out to the public,
Yeah.
Top Canadian, Kevin and I went with Corey Connors, who missed the cut on the number. Craig went with Adam Hadwin, and was that top Canadian?
No, Nick Taylor. Someone none of us had.
Where did he finish?
He was just ahead of Hadwin.
19?
T20.
Yeah, he was a stroke ahead of Hadwin.
There he is. And then quick one and done update. So Craig won the week with the Adam Scott play. He was T38, got 40 grand to his account for one and done.
Nipped Neiman by 1 stroke there.
One stroke. I had Joaquin Neiman, who was looking great halfway through the tournament. I was laughing, pulling away even further from you guys, but he only ended up with 28
He had a tough
grand.
day on the win day there.
He had a tough day on the win day. And then Kevin went with Bubba Watson, horse for course, and missed the cut. But I don't think you're sweating losing Bubba Watson for the rest of the year.
No, I'm not. And you know what? I really wanted to pick Max in my one and done. I kind of threw it out there to you guys
played
early.
him already.
What's that?
I thought you must have played him already.
No, I hadn't. But I was telling Craig, I was feeling really good about Max going into this week, but I didn't want to mix business and pleasure. I was worried about it. It's like how I never bet on the Vikings. It's too close to my heart.
Fair. Okay, talking about betting, good bets, bad bets, red bets, green bets. Let's talk about kind of how our weekend shaped up. Kevin.
Yeah,
the Max Homa.
I would love to kick this one off.
Let's talk about it.
It was a good week for me. I had Max
bankroll
outright.
builder.
Yeah, it was a bankroll builder. I had Max at 50 to 1 outright, which hit. And I also had him as a top 20. I had Joaquim, your boy, as a first round top 10 at 4.5 to 1. So that was a nice little payout to get get the ball rolling early in the week. I like that.
So you see the pick sheet and you're like, Adam's got Neiman. I see.
Adam's got Neiman. Yeah. I also did put a first round top 5 on Colin Morikawa. So when I saw them making a mess of 10 there on the first first hole, I was like, oh geez, there goes that.
Here we go.
You had a double start, yeah.
So that's in the bad column. And then I was dabbling a little bit. I with the 3-ball today, I noticed that Wyndham Clark was playing really well on Saturday. Saw him paired with Spieth and I think it was Noren. So he seemed like he was getting a little bit disrespected at 2.5 to 1 there. So I bet on him today and he pulled that one out for me. So that was a nice one too.
I told you weren't buying the Spieth hype. Like I don't know why you are so down.
Hey, Sunday Spieth, all right?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's true.
All right, Craig, how did your DFS week shape out?
Man, so I had a bit of a frustrating one because like everything I felt like I nailed my fades. Fading a bunch of these top guys. Kept high ownership on DJ, Xander, and Patrick Cantlay and Finau. Those 4.
And completely faded Bryson, Rory, JT.
Yeah.
Like, in theory, you had this perfect theory, but
my theory was great. And then so I felt like the bottom end of my pool too was awesome, except I had I want to say 3 guys all on the cut line. And so I was sweating that cut because the cut was on the verge of moving to +1. So I was sweating that cut. I would have had if it would have moved, I would have had 55% of my lineups with 6 of 6, which it would have been
incredible,
a good week. Yeah. So I still was looking good through the week. Neiman, your boy Neiman hurt me. Ortiz was a hurt. But then DJ. So I had DJ on about 50 to 60% of my lineups, and so his fade today, that was probably the one that it still turned out to be a profitable week on. The profit from the tourney longs covered my losses on showdowns, but it was just one of those ones, like it felt a little bit like last week, where it was one where like I did so many good things that it feel like you need one of those big weeks on those weeks, and so it was a no blood slight profit, but it just felt like one that should have been
It could have been a big one. It could have been a whale. It could have been a whale type cash. But
and some of those, some of my
you're still eating.
Some of my lineups were DJ Burns ones, so those were looking good for a long time. And then as the last stages of the tournament happened, they faded. Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of right there with you for DFS. I thought on Friday that it's for sure got to move to +1. The cut's got to fall back. Sergio missed his putt in the morning wave to knock it to even to stay at +1. Ultimately, Gim didn't make it as well, my sleeper, and then Corey Connors, who were high on as a Canadian ball striker extraordinaire. So after those three guys missed, it was tough for me. But then this late surge from Fenow, I was huge on Fenow. I had him as my outright. I was holding that ticket 25-1. I was looking pretty good for a long time. I had him in a bunch of DFSs. They were slowly, these 4 of 6s, 5 of 6s I thought were dead were coming back into the green. I was giving hope. But ultimately, as Craig can understand, a lot of it is riding on the placement they have. So when Fenow goes into first, he gets all these bonus points. And he's holding on to it, but then when he loses the playoff, all those points go away when he drops to second. So it was tough. It was a hard one to swallow. With the outright ticket and a couple of the GBP plays, it was about a third of my bankroll swing to the red. So end up going from just over profit to about a 75% return. On the stake. So it's not a terrible bleed, but it was a flesh wound. It stung a little bit.
The one I just want to highlight my worst decision of the week here real quick. So you guys were already making fun of me because I was planting my flag on Rory for the round 2 showdown, low ownership. I'm just licking my chops. I brought him up on our showdown show on Thursday night. Said I'd play something like 50% on him. 50% him, 50% Xander. Typically what I do is go like 25 both, and then 25 with one of each, and then 25 with neither. Instead, I was just feeling so good. I put 100% of my lineups with the Rory Xander stack, and then just like mixed up the bottom end of the lineup. So I just had a goose egg on Friday. That it was just like stick to your process. Don't just do a stupid thing. Yeah.
Hey man, shoot your shot, right?
Well, yeah, but sometimes you shoot your shot and you do it with a nice 50% that you've thought out instead of just deciding, let's just go.
You go in for a layup instead of like trying the half court heave.
It's like pulling up for the fast break, not from 3, like at the line, like a few steps back.
Yeah, we're not all Steph Curry.
Before we look ahead, any final thoughts on Genesis?
I was so happy with seeing Max win. I'll be riding this one for a while.
Riding I can tell.
I think honestly, most exciting tournament. I struggling to think of the last one that I was that into the outcome as it came down the stretch. 3 guys when it was tied with all 3 of them. 3 guys I really would have liked to see win.
Yeah.
I tweeted. CBS, the ratings for CBS last week were the highest they'd been in. I don't remember exactly what they said, but the highest in a while. And I'm like, if the ratings are not higher this week, then I have no faith left in humanity. Because like this was the most exciting golf I have seen in a while. So
golf is great and business is booming. That's the other thing I wanted to mention with those guys missing the cuts is that I think we have deeper fields than we've ever had in the history of golf.
For sure. Yeah.
Like there's so much talent. Burns was 100 something in the world. Like He's
140 something, I think.
Yeah, there's so much talent out there in the world and game of golf. It's awesome.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so we back-to-back weeks where we kind of had just the PGA, Euros off, LPGA was off, so we kind of got a full slate again next week. WGC at the concession, moving from Mexico to Florida to the concession.
Interesting course. Like it's going to be exciting to see this course. I think they talk about it being a potential future major venue, or maybe ride or something like that. So it'll be interesting to see how it holds up at the WGC this week.
A lot of our favorite Euros coming over, obviously, for that one. Yeah, it's not often you get a brand new course on the PGA Tour that we've never really, kind of got a taste 2015. Anyways, there's a preview.
And one that I think that there's a lot of acclaim, and people talk about how hard it is and how much of a test it's going to be, which let's test these guys.
We also got Phil playing in the Colo-Guard Classic this week on the Champions Tour, so we'll see if he can go 3 for 3 for his Champions Tour debut.
The hat trick.
I like it. That'd be pretty amazing. Puerto Rico's back, alternate event, LPGA is back. It's gonna be a good week of golf.
Yeah. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Follow us on Twitter if you don't already at Grandstand Golf. Rate and review our podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's where we post everything as well. Any final thoughts here as we kind of go out, Craig?
I don't know, for people that are listening, I don't know if you're not already on the Discord, but that's basically where we're chatting all the time as the tournament's going on and everything. So come check that out. We've even gotten Kevin to figure out how to join it. He makes an appearance once every few days.
I try my best.
It's a ton of fun. Yeah. All right. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll catch you next week.
Yeah. Take
care, everyone.